What's up, everybody? It's your boy Tazz, and we are back with the Perspective podcast. Let me get that right. The Tazz Perspective podcast. That part. Look, of course, it's been a couple days since we have gone live with the podcast, but we have definitely been posting. I want to appreciate everybody who has been a part of just following this particular podcast. Of course, this is my independent show. Let me make sure that everything is sounding the way. Okay, we good right there. I just, had to take care of some things. This is probably what I would consider an impromptu show, just based on the fact that I have been getting some feedback regarding what we've been talking about in regards to the show. And I'm still in a situation where I'm still trying to believe it. But before we get into everything, let me do this. Do me a favor. If you have not followed me on any of the podcast platforms, you can do so. Let me go back there. You can follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and iHeart under the Tazz Perspective podcast. And you can follow us on YouTube at All Things Spotlight. I am, I'm just thankful, I keep on forgetting that I can check the analytics to see how the show is doing and how many people are following and, just conversating, talking about what we're doing as opposed to actual podcast platforms. It's totally different on the on YouTube or whatever. You can see those analytics too, but just being able to when I do go through the analytics for Spotify and Apple and all of that, and I see the number of people who have downloaded a show or downloaded the podcast or just following the podcast, I'm just excited and thankful because you didn't have to do it. So again, if you have not followed, if you have not subscribed, do me a favor, the information is at the bottom, the Tazz Perspective podcast. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and iHeart. You could also check us out on YouTube at All Things Spotlight. If you are the person that just love your boy or love what we're doing, that just want to support the cause, you can also support us. The Cash App is I am Trevane, and the Zelle is spotlightmedia.info at gmail.com. Whatever you would like to do to help us build what we're doing with the platform would be greatly appreciated. Let's move a little bit further. I want to thank all the people who have allowed me to produce their podcast here in the DFW area. In next month, or this month, end of this month, we're bringing in someone from Oregon, from Portland. And I'm just excited because you're trusting me with your vision, and I don't take that stuff lightly. But let's get into. We're gonna do a quick update, well, a quick update from where we started everything, and then I just want to go for what I know. I am currently in a season for the podcast where I'm doing a series on breaking the silence. If you know me, you know the story that I have shared or been sharing for a very long time. Hold on, let me do this. I'm sorry. If you're listening or if you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, or Twitch, I appreciate you guys for doing so. Let's go. So, if you know me and you know the story, I have been very vocal lately about my past life experiences. Um, as of February of this year, I realized that what I thought I was over, what I thought I had dealt with, was clearly something that I just put in the back of my mind. And I made myself, I made myself good with it. I made myself feel like I had healed because it was out of sight, out of mind. But February of this year, I was in a service at the church that I am a member of, and I saw the preacher who took advantage of me sexually whenever I was junior high school for a very long time. And when I saw him, I instantly, I was triggered. I had never had a panic attack a day in my life, but whenever I saw him on that day, I had the worst panic attack ever. I was paralyzed after church for a good little minute. Um During the service, after he saw me and I saw him, he turned around. He was all the way in the front of the church. He turned around and he saw me and he like stared at me throughout the rest of the service as if to say, I see you and I'm still here. Um, so like I said, I was triggered and I couldn't really do any moving after service for a while. I had to call uh, the co-pastor, call her mother. I had to call her down to coming just sit with me and pray with me because I'm not going to say I was scared. I was more mad than anything. And I just couldn't move. So I had to find a way to break that. And I was glad that I was able to do so. Um, it took a while to do it, but the story goes um, I used to live in Lake Charles, Louisiana. And while I was in Lake Charles, anybody that know me from Lake Charles only know me because of me playing and singing, because that's pretty much all I ever done while I was there. And there's one particular church I was with practically the whole entire time while I was in Lake Charles. Um, and the pastors um, pretty much put me in a situation where they would put me on the road with a preacher. And while I was on the road with the preacher, it didn't start right off because he had to learn how to maneuver and how to convince me, you know. So it took a while, but the preacher would just call him HB from from New York. Somebody is on right now that I feel like I know how this show probably is gonna go, but I'm here for it anyway. So while I was traveling uh, with Howard Brigham, it got to a point to where um, he stopped getting 2-bedroom hotels. He started getting 1 bedroom. I mean, one bed hotels or whatever. And eventually, um, that's what led to the sexual misconduct. And yes, I was young, and I had someone on a live a while back comment and was like, "Well, you've always been soft. You've always been a little feminine or whatever, so maybe you asked for it." At this time, I didn't know anything about sexuality of what I was trying to do or what I was trying to be, but he was able to convince me or put me in a position to where, number one, I'm in a whole nother state, whole nother city. Of course, at that time, cell phones really wasn't that big, so I really didn't have a phone or whatever. So I had to depend on him for communication and safety and place to stay and food to eat and everything. So it became one of those things that I couldn't, because I'm out of town. I can't say no to being in this room because I don't have a way out, and he knew that. So in knowing that, it's kind of like, he groomed me real good because he started out, buying me clothes, buying me suits because he know what my home life was. And in knowing what the home life was, he was able to figure out things I didn't have and things I desired because of the church that I was going with and what they were looking like and what they were doing. And he would buy me these things for a very long time. But there came a time after high school that I decided I did not want to go on the road with him anymore because I just got to the point to where I didn't want to be a part of that anymore. Um, so went to I went to the pastor's son, and at that time wife, and I told them, you know, I got me on the road with this dude, and it's turned sexual. Uh, of course, there really wasn't too much of a reaction, but uh, hey, godmother, hey Chantel, how y'all doing? It didn't turn too much. I didn't really get a reaction because at the time, you know, he was that. So could nobody, didn't nobody want to not have him in their life, in their ministry, because he was the preacher that can come and preach, prophesy, lay hands, raise money, the whole 9 yards. So you didn't want, and if your church was not used to having that, you didn't want to set yourself up to where you wouldn't have it no more. So I want to say that same night, I went down to the pastor's house and I told them what was going on. And there was no immediate reaction to me telling them that this preacher that y'all sending me off with is not trying to make sexual advances, but is making sexual advances and getting these one bed hotels and things like that. Um, After I told them, at the time I was married, I went and I went home because by this time, after I told them, I kind of just left the church. And when I left the church, whatever, I remember I was home one day and I got a knock on the door, and it was the pastor's son and HB from New York. Um, what ended up happening was they sent him to my home to ask me at the time if I was coming to play for a revival that he was having in the city. And I'm thinking to myself, if y'all sending him to my home right now, it's because whenever I told y'all that this man was doing what he was doing with me, y'all either didn't believe it or didn't care. Let me say it again. Y'all either didn't believe me or didn't care. On the previous live that I did regarding this, Evelyn was like, uh, if they knew about it and didn't do anything, they just didn't want to get involved. Well, the thing is this: if you called me your son, if you cared for me like you said you did, and I'm telling you that something like this is happening to me, at this point, forget being a preacher, forget being a pastor, and look at the person that you're saying that you love and care for as a human being and do something. I couldn't get that. So I um I kind of just I put it off to the side as much as I could. At the time I was married or whatever. Told my wife what was going on. And even her reaction, her reaction was, did you like it? What the hell? Like, I'm trying to tell you guys what's going on, trying to get help, and no one helped. Either they didn't believe me, they didn't care, or they just didn't know how to help. So this is where I'm at in life now. Since I've started telling my story, since I've started, because I'm in the process of writing my first short film. I am in school right now at Full Sail University. Shout out to Full Sail. Getting my bachelor's in digital cinematography, but also just learning the whole film game. Um, since I've started doing this, uh, doing the lives, talking about what I'm doing with the film, the response has been crazy in a good way. I have people from my past in Lake Charles, from the church, like today. Um, I got a long message from someone who was a part. Yeah, I let's just say I got a message from someone who know about the ins and outs of this particular ministry. And she shared with me, had we known what you were going through, we would have had your back. And she shared with me what she went through. I was like, damn, had I known what you went through, I would have had your back. But the thing that I've learned from people who have been either approaching me face to face or people who have been inboxing me or whatever is stories like this don't get told because of the fact that people are afraid that no one will believe them. Not even just, you know, my situation ministry wise, but even in the fact of just your kids' everyday life, coaches, counselors, teachers, friends, parents, friends, brothers and sisters, friends, aunties, and uncles, just people who have gone through things but decided not to say. Number one, out of embarrassment, out of shame, out of guilt, out of regret, out of feeling like it's my fault, it happened. Just don't say anything. Someone asked me, they was like, well, Troy, whenever all this stuff happened to you, did you say anything? No, it's like, yeah, again, I told the preachers or whatever, told the pastors, told family members, whatever. But because no one did anything to make a move to actually want to help me out, I kind of just left it alone. I buried it in myself. I was like, okay, Troy, this happened to you. Keep it moving. So I instantly moved to Dallas, Texas. And, you would think that after a while, these things, for me, I thought it was just going to go away. And it was, I dealt with it. I'm good. Going living my life. But I've learned that sometimes we to get over something or to deal with something, we put band-aids on bullet wounds. And when I say that, I mean we try to we cover up what we don't want to deal with just because it's definitely hard. Especially again after you've tried to you reach out and get help and get assistance, or the people who you would feel because of what they say you mean to them, you would feel or think that they would want to do something, and whenever they don't, and whenever no one really gets active, you bury it, you suppress it, and you go off and you just start doing your own thing. Some people resort to uh finding ways to cope with this, and the ways that they try to cope with the abuse a lot of times it's even worse. Yes, it is. Sometimes the way that people try to cope with it is even worse than not trying to cope, because you go from being, what's the word? You act out because you want to figure out like why, what can I do to not feel this? So you start drinking, start smoking, just start having sex, start cutting, just anything that you can do to deal with what you feel. Because number one, you don't like the feeling. But even in not liking the feeling, you have to figure out what can I do when I feel this way to not crash out. And that's when all the other opportunities for things that come up in our lives happen. Yeah, I started drinking, started smoking, started the whole sex thing because I just wanted to numb the pain. But I want to say this. This is, I guess, the main focus of today. Listen to people, parents. I would encourage parents everywhere that hear this, or kids that may come across uh, a reel of this. Sit down and talk with your kids. Sit down and talk with your parents. And parents, listen. Don't think that um, your son that was once the innocent, well, not innocent, but the well behaved person, or the daughter that was the well behaved baby, has now ventured out and become something that you never imagined them becoming. There is probably something behind it. And what's behind it, as a parent, whenever you hear it, you will want to not believe it. I don't know why that is. Sometimes we don't want to believe things, especially whenever it has something to do with people that are in the faith, in the church. We very rarely ever act on those things. But whenever you as a parent don't listen or don't believe or don't act on what your child say, your child loses faith in you as a parent and decide, well, since I tried to reach out, I tried to get help, I'm telling my story and no one's listening, to hell with it. I'm not going to tell the story no more, because the more I tell it, I have to relive it. But in me reliving it, no one cares. We have a comment. Let's see what's up. Let me move you up right there. I'm sorry for what you went through, and are you dealing with it? I'm dealing with it. I don't know exactly if it's the best way to deal with it, but I am dealing with it to the fact to where, instead of me um, being the person that I was, where I would try to find a way to dull it by drinking or smoking or sex or whatever, I'm putting it on film. I'm putting it on TV. I'm putting it in a film, um, because, like I said at the top of this show, the reaction or the comments that people have been telling me regarding this, about what happened to them in their lives, have pushed me to want to be able to help, because people are like, I went through this 30 years ago. I went through this 20 years ago. I went through this 5 years ago. My daughter went through I know somebody going through whatever, but just didn't have the mindset to want to talk about it. See, I'm glad that I'm in a situation to where, although I know, when I started doing this, I knew what the probability was going to be about people coming against me, the threats or whatever. I knew about all that already. But once I started getting confirmation that what I was doing was right and what I was doing was helping, I instantly went from worrying about what people would do to worrying about what people needed to hear. People need to hear that it's okay to tell your story. People need to hear that it's not your fault what happened to you. Especially if, like in my situation, no, I didn't grow up with everything. Nothing against my mom. My mom, she was a great mom. She did the best she could with what she had. But you know, things I learned from her, that she taught me that parenting doesn't come with a handbook. Recently, right before she passed, we had a conversation, and she told me about some things that happened to her in her childhood. And she was like, I can't judge you no more, because now this is why I became the person that I am, Troy. And I was like, wow. Because had I known that, the relationship, the dynamic between me and my mom for a long time would have been so different. Which is why I encourage parents to talk to their kids. If you see your kid has become something that they were not a year ago, 6 months ago, whatever, if you see them acting out, it's not because they're necessarily just horrible babies, kids. No, not the 10. They're going through something. And it may not even be sexual misconduct. It may just be um, self-esteem issues. It may be bullying. But it's important, or it should be important, to parents to, instead of just seeing the child act out and just be like, oh, this nigga bad, you're going to be just like, no, what's happening? Because a minute ago, you wasn't like this. What has happened in your life that is causing you to act out or be who you have become or do the things that you have started doing? I'm telling you, one thing you have to understand how important communication with your child is. Child, son, daughter, you have to realize how important communication with your mom or your dad is, or your granny, whoever's raising you. Because, and it's kind of a double-sided thing. People can't help if they don't know. True enough. That's just what that is. But then I also understand after we've reached out and we've tried to get that help, that we don't get it. It's not respected, it's not believed. And it puts us in a situation to where we never want to talk again. Look, I'm 44 years old. This happened to me late 18, 19, whatever. Yeah, it was hard to get to this point to where I want to talk about it, because I know that people from that ministry are friends with me on Facebook, friends with me on Instagram, friends with me on whatever platform, and would see these stories and want to debate, try to make me deny what I know happened. But it's more important to me to share my story, to share my testimony, to share this in the process of me healing. Because let me be honest with you guys. I'm in a process of healing. I'm not in no way, shape, form, or fashion telling y'all that I'm completely healed. I'm over it and all is well. Not saying that. But because I am doing what I'm doing in writing the film, um, I would much rather be able to heal in public, heal in the public eye. Because once this film comes out, hey, it is what it is. I can't deny it. And whether I'm healed or not, the world is gonna know. So yeah, I'm in the process of healing. I'm in the process of dealing with it. And sitting down doing these lives or in my writing sessions, whenever I'm sitting down writing, having to go back through and relive it over and over and over again. Yes, it hurts, but I know that my hurt is helping somebody. My hurt, your hurt can help somebody if you allow it to. I do this now because I have the individuals who come up to me and they let me know that, um, without saying any names, because I'm a strict confidential person, but my family member is the person that touched me. My brother is the one that did this. My sister is the one that did this. My mom, my dad, whatever, years and years ago. And I never dealt with it. But whenever I heard you talk about it, you gave me a voice. Man, when I tell you, the first time I heard that, I was like, yep, that's what we're going to do. And I think my desire, and of course it's all a part of the whole mental health thing, but my desire is because I'm seeing that so many people are dealing with wanting to break the silence of childhood sexual abuse, to where I want to be able to create um, a group, a nonprofit, or something, and just help people be able to continue to be that voice. Yes, I do believe the short film is going to be powerful and it's going to change lives. But even after the film, I want to be able to go to different states and cities or whatever, schools or whatever, and have conversations. Because it's one thing whenever you see somebody face to face or you hear them with your own ears saying what you feel but afraid to deal with. Because it's like, oh my God, somebody finally see me. Somebody finally hear me. I'm not going to say that um, because of how it happened in February. I sat in the church and I was like, I contemplated over and over again what I would do after church if Howard Brigham would stand outside. How I wanted to keep up the good work from Pastor Sam Long, man. I appreciate the love and the support, man. It means everything. I thought about what I wanted to do because I never thought I would see him again. So whenever I did see him, I was like, what can I do to hurt him? The woman of God was already praying for you because you're dealing with sciatica. So that means you already heard. So what can I do? And God was like, do nothing. God was like, don't do anything. And that made me even more angry because I was like, God, this man right here. And the part that really hurts the most that let me know that when I told the ministry, when I told the church that I was with in Lake Charles, when I told the Henrys what was going on, what let me know for sure that they either didn't believe me or they just didn't care, it's the fact that right now they're still in ministry with him. They still let him come to the church and preach and pray and do all the things. So it's not the fact that, Evelyn was on the live and she was, really trying to defend them. You can't defend someone who you told was basically allowing this to happen. And they didn't even try to deal with it. But years later, you still see them in relationship with the preacher. I don't care who the preacher is. No kid. I don't care who the coach is. I don't care who the father, who the mother, I don't care who it is. No kid should ever have to go through what I had to go through. So I feel like it's my obligation to tell the story. We're living in a time now where, you know, coaches have better relationships with kids than most parents do. Watch. Parents, ask questions. Ask the uncomfortable questions. Ask the questions that you really don't want to know the answer to, but you really want to know the answer to. Because what if your child is just waiting for an opportunity to talk to you? They're scared to approach you, but they're waiting for you to approach them. Let me say it again. What if your child is waiting for an opportunity to tell you what's going on? They're scared to approach you with it because they feel ashamed, they feel embarrassed, or they were told if you say anything, this is going to happen. But they're waiting for you as a parent. They're waiting for you as a mentor. They're waiting for you as what they're waiting for you to come to go to them and be like, okay, what's going on? Like you don't understand how much of a load would be lifted off that person. Because again, people don't just start doing the fool for nothing. If you know your child hasn't been this way for like this is not who they originally were, sit down and talk with them. I promise you, it'll change your life and it'll change theirs. I'm un, I'm okay now with the understanding that people talk about me since I've been doing this, and I know that they're talking about me. But when I get messages, and again, whenever people approach me and let me know how I'm helping, for me, that's all that matters. People need to know that they're not by themselves. I needed that and didn't get it. I don't expect people who are still under that tutelage to even understand this, to even believe this, to want to believe this. Because it's been damn near 15 years and you're still there. Seeing the ups and downs of what this particular ministry did. But even um, when I first started talking about it, this lady sent me a message on Facebook, and I've shared this before. She sent me a message on Facebook. At the time, I had mentioned no names or nothing. I just mentioned where how it lived. And she sent me a message, and she was like, "The preacher that you're talking about, HB, does he live in New York?" It's like, "Yeah." She told me his name. She was like, "Believe it or not, you're not the only one." I pulled my son from him because he did the same exact thing to my son. And trust me, I still have the message in my Facebook inbox. I had another close friend of mine who was a part of the ministry. She passed or whatever. And she shared with me, she left the ministry, but was able to share with me that he did the same thing to her son. But he didn't have anybody to help him deal with it just as I did because I was in the ministry. I can only imagine if he actually came forth and said something and nobody listened to him. Did nobody care? That would totally explain why he crashed out as often as possible. Because as positive as he probably wanted to be, I don't feel I need to be in a church with people who don't care to listen when I say something that happened to me like this. So just crash out and just don't go to church. That is a hurting thing, especially if you're a young person in Christ, if you're just getting into church and you reach out for help and no one helps you because no one believes you. One of the deacons in the church at the time actually told me that he had done something with this particular person or to this particular person. The same pastors would send him to New York all the time, thinking that New York was helping him. No, it wasn't. New York was hurting. New York was causing him to want to be the worst state he could. Because after he would come back, I have to figure out a way to numb the pain. I have to figure out a way to keep face because I know that in a little bit he's going to be back here preaching again and got to deal with it because the people who's supposed to care about me would much rather just not. It was more about the ministry than it was about the people in the ministry. People have I was out somewhere with a group of people and they had heard the story and they asked the question, Troy, I've been, alert or aware of your podcast and you telling your story, but let me ask you a question. And I was like, what's the question? They was like, do you think what happened to you as a child has any relation to who you are now as a person choosing to love who you love? I can't say it did, but I can't say also that not having anybody to listen or believe could have or should have done something different. Because at the time, hey, I ain't know nothing about no same sex or being gay or whatever. I was trying to get through school and deal with life because life was kicking my butt. And again, like Evelyn, she was online. She said, "Well, you've always been this." You've always been soft, so whatever. You sound like the person that says, because you put yourself in the situation, because you put yourself in the location, whatever happened to you, you asked for it. You're stupid. No means no, regardless to where you are. I don't care if you started out, if you're the one who started wanting to do whatever that is in the process, you changed your mind and was like, no, at that moment, your no is no. But if you're in a situation like me, different city, different state, no phone, no nothing, kind of just had to deal with it until I didn't have to deal with it no more. Until I was tired of dealing with it. I was tired of going through it. Yes, I left church. Oh my God, did I leave church for a very long time. Now, keep in mind, listen to what I said. I left church. I didn't leave God. Because after I moved to Texas, I started playing for churches here. And I remember one of the biggest churches I played for in Louisville, very, very big progressive church. I went in and I spoke with the pastor wanted to have a meeting with me, just, a counseling one-on-one session or whatever. And I shared with him things that I had been through, told him about, because I was trying to get help. Mentally, I was out of it. By the time I got home, by the time I got to my auntie's house, that pastor called my auntie and told her, we got to let Troy go. He can't play for us no more. Thinking to myself, number one, Pastor Blake, this is supposed to be a private session. Why you calling my auntie, telling my auntie something? I'm a grown ass man. You can tell me. Now, catch 22. A couple years later, he got put out the church. Went to another church I played for and didn't. They couldn't. It was like as long as I was doing what I was doing, because the music ministry was it was everything, because I had the college students. But because they couldn't control the way I had my hair, or if this is church, you should be able to bring people because you want people to learn about God. But they didn't want me to bring people in the LGBTQ community to church or whatever. So they ended up letting me go. I had young ladies at the church lying, talking about he made a pass at me. I'm like, how am I gonna make a pass at you? And I don't even like you. I'm not even into females. Like, how would that look? Me making a pass at you, and I don't even like females like that. So yes, I left church because I felt like it didn't matter what I did or what I said. Help was just one of those things I just wasn't gonna get. Having somebody actually hear me for what I was going through, that was not gonna happen. Which is why I know what it's like whenever people want to tell a story or tell what's happening to them to get help and no one listens. I no longer fault the person that acts out, the person who crashes out and just start doing things because no one cares to care. No one cares to listen. No one cares to take action. I could be wrong, but I don't think the church know how to handle this. Just saying. I don't think the church properly know how to handle when someone comes and say, I've been sexually abused by somebody, a man under the cloth, a woman under the cloth. I've been sexually abused by somebody that associates with your ministry. Because the first thing they do is say, let's pray about it. Nah, nigga, stop praying. I need action. I need to see you doing something. I need to see you actively showing that you care, and prayer is not it. Yes, God can do all things. God is what that is. But the answer is not let's pray. And I think that the church used let's pray because they haven't figured out how to navigate those situations. The church haven't figured out how to have that conversation with that preacher that can come to the church and do big things that the church don't normally get. The parent don't know how to go to the coach and talk to the coach about it because my child not going to get play in the game no more we don't know how to navigate it. And instead of trying to learn how to navigate it, we put a band-aid on the bullet wound. And we wait until it's too much. And then we want to react. Then we want to say what we want to say and do what we want to. It's too late now. You had an opportunity whenever that person, that child came to you, or even if it's somebody now. Let me stop saying child, because a lot of people who've been coming up to me are grown men and women who have gone through something and want to tell the story, but feel like, it's 30 years ago. Nobody cared then, nobody care now. I know in the African American community, whenever stuff like this happens, it's shut away, tucked away. We ain't gonna talk about this. Especially if you in a family that everything looks like roses and golden streets and all this stuff. You don't want to make the family look bad. So instead of dealing with it the right way, you don't even try to figure out how to deal with it. So the person that was hurt, the person that was abused, the person that went through what they went through just basically finds themselves wondering, does anybody care? I believe a lot of people who have gone through things and didn't get help and are no longer here lived a life wondering, does anybody really care about me? Because I've done all I can to reach out to get help. And regardless to what I said and who I said it to, nobody answered. I do think that if I would have had um, either the pastors at the time, that the Henrys, or if I would have had the pastor's son, O. Smith, and friend, and or even if my family, if somebody would have seen me back then and listened to me back then and actually made a point to want to do something, if they made a point to want to help, then a lot of things would be different for me, or a lot of things would have been different for me. I understand now that you was gone by then. You had been introduced to these folk. You had been gone. Chantel, thank you. Um, but I don't know. I just feel like we're in a place, in a position to where we are holding people's lives in our hand. And if it's not handled the right way, you are responsible for however that person turns out. And it's an unpopular opinion. And again, this is the Tazz Perspective podcast, my way of seeing things. But if you know that something has happened to somebody in their life and they've come to you for help, they've come to you for assistance, they've come to you for counsel, they've come to you because they want to get help and you decided not to help, whatever happens to them in their life, it's your fault too. Because you had a way, there was a time whenever you could have said something, or a time that you could have done something to probably change the trajectory of this person's life. But again, the church don't know how to handle this. The church don't know how to navigate. I have been sexually abused by a pastor, by a whatever. Stop telling these young boys and girls, let's pray about it. And then look at, so real talk, even right now, whenever you see Brigham doing something, all he's around is guys. He's never traveled with a female, anything. The only female I've ever seen him with, traveling with, or just being in a relationship with, was the pastors I was under. And he would always find somebody to ship away with him. Come out for the summer and do work with me. No, we have to do better. This is my way of doing better. Telling my story, letting some, starting young, letting some little boy, letting some little girl, some teenager, or some adult know that it's okay to say. It's okay to break the silence. It's okay to let people know why you are the way you are. I tell you, one of the greatest things I learned from my mom before she passed is why she was the way she was. The hurt and the abuse that she went through that she never spoke of. Had I known, things would have been different. Take out the time to talk to your sons, your daughters. Take out the time to talk to your nieces and your nephews. Sit down with your brother, sit down with your sister. Have the conversations. And it's usually the conversations that we don't want to have that are the conversations that'll help us. Your brother is not just a bad person just out of nothing. There's something there. There's hurt. There's something that has happened that they want to get off their chest. They want to talk about it. They want to unburden themselves of whatever it is. But again, they're not going to approach you because they're embarrassed. They're not going to approach you because they're hurt. They're not going to approach you because they're ashamed. But if you approach them and you let them see that you care enough and you provide a safe space for them, you'll be a safe space that the church can't be, or that some churches just choose not to be. Very hard conversation, Chantel. Very hard conversation. But if you allow people to see that you are a safe space for them, you'll understand so much. Some people need a safe space. Some people are actually tired of crashing out. They're tired of feeling the way they feel. And they just looking for somebody to sit down and talk to them. Again, I'm not going to approach because if I approach, I've approached before and nobody cared. Let somebody see me enough to approach me and ask me what's going on. That that's everything. If you're watching this, let me do my due diligence. Follow me on social media, all things Tazz. You see it at the bottom of the screen. If by some chance you want to support the podcast, you want to support what we're doing with the film, you can support us on Cash App. I am Trevane, on Zelle, spotlightmedia.info@gmail.com. Also, you can subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, and you can follow us on YouTube for all the videos and things, all the things. I believe that we're in the time and place where conversations need to be had. And I'm thankful that I have um, a platform to do it. I agree and stand in. Thank you, Mother. Also, condolences on your loss. I'm not going to do this and pretend like I don't know. Condolences to you on your loss. Things, I can't do a whole bunch, but, you know, hit your boy up even if you just want to talk or whatever. I'm a good listener. I believe that this breaking the silence is going to help a lot of people. And it's going to evolve from just being a podcast. It's going to evolve from just being a short film and hopefully become one of the biggest platforms that help young people today or help adults heal from things that they never dealt with. Because again, I tried to tug mine away. Justin Timberlake wrote a song. You say, I can't drink you away. I tried Jack. I tried gin. I tried it all. But after that high, after that feeling went away, I was still left with that trauma. Man, I hope that by some chance, something that was said on tonight's show will help you. Of course, it's going to be on Facebook for 30 days. After the 30 days, Facebook deletes. So do me a favor, because this is only part 3. There's so many parts to go to this story, because we're going to do this for the whole duration while I am writing the film. So do me a favor, and you can subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and iHeart. Or if you just want to watch the videos, you can subscribe to us on YouTube, All Things Spotlight. Also, our Instagram and TikTok and all that other stuff, it's all Things Spotlight also. So please do me a favor and subscribe, because I want to know your story. I want to know, because people have been doing it anyway. People have been confiding, and as y'all can see, no names are being said, but share your story. Inbox me. Email me again at thatspotlightmedia.info@gmail.com. Or if you're the person that you're dealing with it and you want your voice to be heard, come on the show and let's talk about it. Because somebody is going through, or somebody has gone through, that needs to know that it's okay. And my voice probably won't help them. Your voice can be the voice to touch their life. Again, this is your boy Tazz. This is the Tazz Perspective podcast. If you'd like to support, you can support us. Cash App, $ I am Travaine. Zelle is spotlightmedia.info@gmail.com. Let me go to the comment before we end. Where's my comment at? Let's go up. Chantel says, I hope and pray that your journey to healing goes well, and that it gives glory to God, and stop being real, facing the issues. Yes, I absolutely agree with you. Absolutely agree with you. Chantel, you was one of my favorite singers too. You used to sing a lot. Do you still sing, girl? Anywho, that's a whole other situation. But I love you guys, and I appreciate you guys for coming to kick it with your boy for a couple hours, for at least an hour for the show. I think the last thing I would say on today's show is, parents, listen. Kids, talk. Older people, you don't have to deal with it anymore. You don't have to be quiet no more. Somebody care. Somebody care. Even if that somebody isn't me. Healing is really, really available. Oh, Lord. Okay. So I had 2 favorite singers, okay? You get it? 2. I think y'all sisters or something like that too. That's ridiculous. That's crazy work. Yeah, I love you guys. We'll be back tomorrow. I'm probably going to do this a little earlier tomorrow because it is 1:13 a.m. and yeah, I got a lot of work to do. Yes, hashtag parents listen. I appreciate that. Um, I love you guys. It's your boy Tazz. This is the Tazz Perspective podcast. We out.